I remember the weight of the air that night. It was thick with the scent of expensive wine and the promise of something permanent. I looked across the table, and for a second, I felt a wave of pity. He was sweating, his collar looked too tight. I thought, he's nervous because he's about to change our lives. He started to talk, not about the future, but about us. He went back to the very beginning, that first day at the ceremony when I took his photograph. He described the way the light hit the lens, the way he felt when I looked at him through the viewfinder. He moved through our highlights like he was reading a script he'd memorized. He talked about our first real date, walking through the park until our feet ached, laughing about nothing. He brought up the gym, those early mornings where we pushed each other, building a rhythm I thought was just ours. Every word felt like a brick he was laying for a house we were finally going to live in. The sound was violent. He stopped mid-sentence. He didn't finish the thought. He looked down at the screen, and I saw a flash of something in his eyes. Not fear, but duty. He didn't say, "Excuse me." He just picked it up and walked away. I watched his back as he disappeared toward the entrance, the heavy glass doors closing behind him. 1 minute past 5:10. The waiter came by and asked if everything was all right. I just nodded, staring at his empty chair. The candle in the center of the table was flickering, dying out. I felt small. I was a woman dressed for a proposal, sitting in a room full of strangers, waiting for a man who had vanished. When the doors finally opened, he came straight to my side, grabbing his coat.
I gotta go, Eva. It's an emergency. We have to leave now.
The ride home was silent, but as we pulled into my driveway, his phone screamed again. He stepped out of the car, pacing on the sidewalk. When he got back in, the tension had melted. He looked relieved.
It's okay. They got it handled. Let's go inside.
I told him my mother was at the house. I expected him to make an excuse to leave, but he didn't flinch. He just looked at me and said, "No problem. There's something I have to do anyway." We walked into my living room. My mother and my uncle were sitting there. The atmosphere was casual until he stood in the center of the floor and asked my mother for my hand in marriage. My mother didn't just celebrate. She started interrogating him. She asked the hard questions, and he stood there answering every one of them with that same charming, steady voice. Then he dropped to one knee. He asked the question, and through the confusion of the night, I said yes. After he left, the house got quiet. My mother took my hand, pulling it under the lamplight. She didn't look at my face, she looked at the stone. She turned my hand back and forth, her eyes narrowing. "Eva," she whispered, "something about this. It looks fake. Are you sure about this?" I pulled my hand away. To me, it was perfect. It was the weight I had been waiting for. It was the proof that I was loved. I didn't know then that the emergency at dinner was a wife calling. I didn't know the relief on his face was the relief of a man who had just lied his way out of a corner. And I didn't want to believe my mother was right, that the man, the promise, and even the diamond were all just a brilliant, hollow imitation of the real thing. I am Eva Black. See you next week for Chapter 8. am Eva Black. See you next week for Chapter 8.